All right, here we go. Ready, set, and welcome everyone to the first ever Circle Up, a Mizzou basketball podcast. My name is Julian, and I'm joined by Curtis and Michael, as I will be every week. We are passionate Mizzou basketball fans who want to channel our love of Mizzou basketball to provide a space for all Mizzou basketball lovers to hear breakdowns, analysis, and predictions around the Mizzou basketball season. Guys, anything you want to add as your first introduction?
Nope, pretty much nailed it there. I'm repping my two favorite Columbia things right now. I've got Mizzou on my T-shirt and Logboat Brewing Company on our hat. Maybe a sponsor down the line if you guys are listening. Want to toss that out there, but yeah, just wanted to get a good space for Mizzou fans to talk, listen, chat, discuss, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excited to be here. We're gonna chop it up 2 nights a week. Looking forward to the Tiger season. I think big things are on the horizon for them. So. Let's get started.
Chop it up like a New York deli. Curtis, you beat me. I'm just in a white tee. I got back from traveling today. Just threw on a white tee. So you're already the most Mizzou person here today. Congratulations, and you're in Florida. So
thank you. Yeah, I was also traveling, but everyone in Florida is wearing something from out of state. So.
All right. So as Mike mentioned, we're going to be going. Doing these recordings every Monday and Thursday once the season really kicks off, and we're hoping to do these on YouTube Live as well, but for now we're just going to do podcast form, and then early in the season we'll probably release one every Monday until things really ramp up. With that, we're just going to jump straight into our preview. It's going to be both kind of a review of the previous season as well as how we're viewing the upcoming season to go, and let's just hop right in. So first, section 1, our 2024-2025 season review. Last season was marked by very, very high highs, some really tough lows. I think all Mizzou fans wish that had been in reverse order, so that the lows were in the middle of the season, the highs are at the end. But you take what you get. I think we can all agree that we did see a lot of growth from the Missouri Tiger basketball team and the coaching staff. Before I jump into our general thoughts, let me just hit with the basic stats. Last season, the Tigers went 22-12, 10-8 in the SEC, which was a very good conference last season. I think we'll all agree it's probably going to be pretty good again this season. Big wins included Kansas at eventual national champions Florida and home against Alabama. The season was marked by a late season slide that led to a 57-67 loss to the Drake Bulldogs. I was there.
Where was that game? Was that Wichita? Where was that game?
That was in Wichita.
I was at a bachelor party, night 1. Got off the plane. We found a sports bar, and boy, that bar made a lot of money off us that night.
But when you think about last season, guys, it's been 7 months at this point. Any just like big takeaway thoughts from that season that you're sitting with?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. I like without any of like the notes that we had going into this. My first thought was high highs and then the low lows right at the end. So that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, wish they had been in a different order, but those good moments were so good. It's jarring that 10-8. It felt like so much better, but that's just how good the SEC has been the last couple of years, and we expect to be at least about, if not better, this year. So that aside, just how good the conference is, that stretch of wins in the middle of the season, and even when they weren't winning, they were mostly playing well. Yeah, there were the highs. The highs were incredible. There were a lot of moments. Big shots, big games by certain players that we'll get into. Once again, ended in disappointment, but, at least it was the first time that Mizzou basketball has ever led to some disappointment.
Mike, any thoughts?
Yeah, kind of echoing what you guys said. SEC ball has truly become a gauntlet. Almost any team that's not named LSU can probably beat you on any given night.
Even more so than football, even these days. Like it's absolutely crazy. Maybe not more so, but it's kind of evened out.
Yeah, kind of looking at the end of the season there, I think maybe the Tigers ran out of gas a little bit. When you go from early January to end of March, or middle March, with conference tournament there, it's just truly a gauntlet. Teams that you're playing, kind of the low. I would say kind of that end of February range, that kind of initial loss there to Arkansas, get the win against South Carolina, but then go on and lose the last 3 regular season at Vandy, Oklahoma, Kentucky.
Vandy one hurt.
Vandy game. Yeah, that hurt. I thought you actually kind of felt. I think saying the team broke there is a little harsh, but like you felt them. They were hurt.
Well, I think anyone
loss.
that like we do that watches Mizzou basketball 30 plus times a season, every season, including the Kim Anderson years, all of that, we all felt that might be the point where things turn south, right? But we also know that we're delusional and depressed, and always get the kind of choose the more negative option. And so I was really disappointed that all of those initial thoughts kind of proved to be correct, and just maybe the magic had run out would be a nicer way to put it, of like, we stopped getting the breaks, we stopped pulling out those crazy performances. And we could talk a little bit more about it if you guys want to, but we were starting to get a little more experimental with like the lineups and stuff there at the end of the year. A lot of people were starting to, you could feel people's tempers kind of rising on Twitter during games, getting mad at Dennis for every little decision. And it's like, oh man, you can feel the nerves.
The shots stopped falling. Is what it felt. Grill wasn't hitting the same. Tamar wasn't hitting the same. Trent wasn't hitting the same. And then once the shots start falling, then the opponent's defense just packed the paint. It's like we couldn't drive anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just felt awful. It felt awful. And then confidence started to be shot.
Yeah. We had a game where Tamar shot it was like 93% from the line or something last year.
Well, and then it came at the end of the season, he broke his hand or something ridiculous.
Okay, There was at least one, if not two games where he missed like multiple free throws in the last 5 minutes, and it was like, oh dude, it just it felt like it was all kind of going off the rails for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of closing those thoughts out. Even losing against a team mid-major program like Drake out of the Mo Valley, they're still an extremely very well-rounded team. Very slow tempo, drawn out possession length, and it just becomes kind of like almost like a chess match, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
tough matchup, but
threw the Tigers through a loop a little bit, and. If you live by the three on days that you're not hitting, you're going to die by it.
The most frustrating thing about that game was how everyone predicted that to be the upset game.
Yep.
Yeah,
everyone predicted that.
Yeah.
It was so frustrating that came to be real. And as someone who's at that game, it feels like how our football team will do, like a 17-play, 12-minute drive of just like slowing the game down. That's what Drake was like. Every single possession went down to the 5-second mark. And then one of them would just do a perfect cut and hit the shot. It's just like,
and so you need to get out to a lead against a team like that. And we were trailing for the majority of the game. And that is just not a team that you want to be trying to come back against. Mm-hmm. It's that simple. If you get out to a huge lead, like we did against like Alabama specifically, when we just got red hot, it's easier to control the game and play with our pace and our chaotic defense versus that's exactly what they wanted us to do from Drake's perspective. So it almost reminded me of the Colorado State game from like 2013, the first round tournament game where it came out and it was like
the 2013 Colorado State game.
But it was one of those where everyone that watches a ton of college basketball kind of knew like, man, this is a tough matchup, because what Mizzou does really, really well that year was rebounding, and Colorado State was the only other team in the top 5 in rebounding that was in that region. And of course we got them in the first round. So it was one of those matchup nightmares where you hope that Mizzou can kind of fight through it, and they just weren't able to.
Yeah.
But overall, hard to have many complaints about that season. I don't think any of us expected to not just win that many games, but win that many big games, and look that good while they were winning those big games.
Yeah. When it looked good.
Incredible. 111 points against Bama. I mean,
it looked really good.
Yeah. Caleb Grill hitting from 40 feet, like all over the place. It was incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that actually takes us into the second part of this season review I want to do, which is the development of the Gates system. If you live more on the analytics side, there's definitely debate about what is Gates trying to get his team to become permanently. How does he want his team to play? What type of guys he want in the program? It's the big theory around it is that he wants his team like Florida State. A lot of tall, a lot of athletic guys that have a certain skill when they come in that allows them to play as freshmen, then they can develop, jump into sophomore, and then like become more well-rounded as they get into their junior and senior years. Retention's really key in that system, and you really see in the recruiting he's doing right now. Jason Crow, top 5 talent, I mean, he's not going to be here for multiple years, but huge recruiting win. Tony Bryant, who will probably be here a couple years potentially, but insanely athletic, switch well on D. Aiden Crosser, 3-point sharpshooter. Like the team he's building is one that's supposed to be NBA style system in a way. Install basic sets, trust the players to run it, and it really made it sound like last season the goal was we didn't have like almost a set style. It was we kind of morphed to just shut down whatever the opponent wanted to do, and then we just shot them out of the and just like motioned them out, shot them out of the stadium.
Hope that works.
So when it looked great, it looked great, but when it didn't, it looked like they were lost on the court. And I'm curious how much it's going to be that free flowing again this season, or are they going to do something that's much more locked into their strengths? Which I think when you look down, we're going to talk about when we get to the roster, but I think there's definitely going to be some very specific strengths to this roster. So Mike, take us there first. What are your thoughts on the gate system, especially on the analytics side, where you definitely reside more than Curtis and I?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you watch enough basketball, it's essentially a just from like a I'm trying to think of the right word, almost like a mindset. It's essentially a motion offense. 4 out, 1 in motion, a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of little actions between two and three guys that are trying to create space. Lot of drive and kick plays, which I think Caleb Grill was a major benefactor in the ability to knock down threes like he was. And then if the defense sells out and guards Grill, you got a nice high percentage 5-8 foot shot from the basket. That's just my take, kind of watching what he does. I think a lot of people would agree that it's basically a highly involved motion offense, which I think also kind of keys into kind of just players' natural instincts and capitalizing in spots when they see it, which I think is great for our team.
Mm-hmm. And like players knowing their spots and then knowing each other well enough to find each other in their spots, which is why I hope the retention part of this is really important. Curtis, any thoughts on the gate system and what he's trying to do?
Yeah, I think you guys both kind of nailed it. It was allowing guys for the most part opportunities to do what they do and do it well. We saw a huge stretch of Mark Mitchell where we would basically go 10, 15 minutes at a time of okay, he's going to get inside and even if they double team him, but if they don't double team him especially, he's just going to go up and score it. Like no matter who's guarding him, it could be a big, it could be a wing, anybody, and getting the grill motion off screens. We had a stretch where it seemed like everyone was starting to kind of get a roll. I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to know in the portal era how much continuity, how much team building you're really going to get. I guess the T in the gate system might be team building. Yep. I'll add that in. But yeah,
I think that's the biggest variable with the portal days now is, how do you quantify, a transfer's, true kind of analytic worth. If someone's coming from a UAB going to a Power 5 or someone's coming from Bellarmine to a Power 5, like they're going to put up good stats. I'm not saying they're bad players, but how do you quantify that and say like, all right, they're going to be an immediate impact player now when they're playing, in a major conference, and that's hard to know. So I think roster continuity does come into play. I don't think anyone is going to touch what the Ivy League or Patriot League retention rate is in the high 50s, low 60s. We're not all academic nerds that are.
I'm about to say a bunch of nerds stay on their team for 4 years, getting actual degrees.
But there's something to that, come in those real nitty gritty games when you got guys out there that have played a couple years together, and I think especially when come March Madness.
Well, I've heard so much about how like if you really look at the teams that do well in March, it always seems to have a lot of continuity, or at least a very strong core of guys who have played together.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, you can look. I
less
think
so than we used to kind of see at the beginning of the like one and done, or when one and done kind of came into
Yeah.
play, we'd see those teams that were able to keep people together. But even now, we don't see the mid majors are struggling a little bit more in the tournament because if somebody has a good season, they get snatched up.
It's so prevalent though. I mean, Drake that beat us last year. I think most of the players on their team. I'm kind of pulling this out of my ass a bit, but like I feel like most of those players on that team had played together for a long time. I mean, their Sturts had been there all 3 years, right?
Yeah, I mean more so than
if I get fact checked on this, I'm sorry,
more
but
so
it
than
felt
us
like
or most SEC teams. But that's just the reality of with NIL and the portal of you're gonna have to like reload, and so the key is kind of getting enough retention, like roster retention, and recruiting well, which we've got a few guys coming back, and obviously at least a couple studs coming in. So this would line up well for Mizzou fitting that bill to some extent.
and I feel like Gates has done well picking transfers. There's definitely not a 100% hit rate, but you can tell he definitely goes for guys who at least have 2 years, and they tend to at least have a solid rotational role. And I mean, if you look at the team last year, it was led by transfers: Mark Mitchell, Caleb Grill, Tamar Bates, all transfers.
For the most part, I think he's also done an exceptional job getting at least our important players are guys with good attitudes, like good locker room guys that practice hard, guys that represent the team and the university well. For the most part, obviously,
I was built to be a
every
locker
team
room
is
guy.
going to miss. Yeah. But I mean, they also had talent, though. That was kind of the differentiator.
I don't have that,
between
but
you
I was
and
built.
them.
I was built to be in the locker
Yeah,
room.
no, we'd be great hype guys. But I mean, yeah, like Bates last year, so going after guys that have maybe a connection to the state of Missouri or whatever it is. I think he's done a good job getting a mix of both talent and guys that will, like I said, represent the team well, play hard, practice hard, help kind of develop the younger players, etc.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue into our 2025-2026 Missouri Tiger roster. You look at it purely on names, you will think the Tigers are going through a pretty massive change. As we've mentioned a bunch of times now, it's actually pretty fairly common change for most teams in the transfer portal era, though Missouri actually is returning more than most. Missouri actually returns the second most player minutes in the SEC at 39.4%, trailing only Arkansas at 56. Mike, before we started, what was like the entire college basketball average? Was like 28?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have that off the top of my head, but I can give you some ranges. The Ivy League roster continuity was 62%, and then the 31st worst conference, the American, was 18.4%.
Nice.
So you get some wide ranges in there with the SEC average, like you said, like 26.4 average. Minutes returned. Everyone can interpret that.
Yep.
As they see fit. But
So let's just remind ourselves who's left, who's still here. So who's departed? Thank you for your service last year, everyone who's departed.
yeah,
I'll
Marquise
post
Warwick.
the in memoriam section. Right
Yeah.
now, so I'll stick that.
yeah. Warwick.
Warwick, we got Marcus Allen, Tony Perkins, Payne Marshall. That one hit me personally. I loved watching that man play. You just love when some big beefs out there on the floor.
Yeah.
Working.
Unless it was
Aiden Shaw.
Jordan Wilmore, but that's a different story.
Aiden Shaw, true son, Caleb Grill, and Josh Gray.
We will miss Gray's offense.
We'll miss Gray's offense, but I think we have a pretty good. That's really what you said. And then our returners: Anthony Robinson, T.O. Barrett, Trent Burns, Jacob Cruz, Trent Pierce, Mark Mitchell. I hear those names. I feel pretty dang good about that returning core. Guys, thoughts on the returning team before we get into the newcomers.
Yep, I think with Robinson, I think his name is rightfully so in that top 25 player mark across all college basketball.
Please, please God.
And then I would also throw in Mark Mitchell, another senior starter, is a legitimate top 50 player. So I think when those two guys are on the court, I think a lot of offense is going to come through them. But kind of with that also, I think the Tigers, stepping up on defense, taking that stride, and I think that's probably what Gates is thinking this year. If I had to give you my 30-second Mizzou, pitch.
Let's hear it. 30-second pitch.
30-second pitch, probably less than 30, for the Mizzou 2025, 2026 Tigers. They're going to have a wealth of rim protection. They're going to have legitimate big bodies that are going to guard the paint. No easy shots. I think that's going to transition to more aggressive offense. And then you can hold me here. If offense and defense comes to play, they will beat anybody in the country. And also take a look at Mizzou Tigers 150-1 to win it, because that number I think is going to
150-1.
I think it's going to be a hell of a lot different once conference ball gets going. And
I could also just
you're hearing it straight from Mike. Put the mortgage on one.
I can just hand you the money and you can take me out back and kick me in the nuts. That would work too.
If you're on the you're gonna get some good you'll get some good value on it. It'll probably drop into like the 50s or 60s, and then come first round we'll get matched up with some mid-major. They'll be like
no.
They'll be like plus 185, plus 225 on the money line, and just take a small hedge. So each round you got your ass covered in some capacity.
Curtis, is there any returning player you're particular outside of Mark and Ant?
Yeah.
Or if you want to talk about them, you can. But like any particular returner players that you're like, I'm excited to see what this person's bringing this year.
I think anyone who might be listening to this podcast is probably well aware of the hype on Ant going into this season. So I'll let that, and plus what you guys said, I'll just kind of let that one lie. Love Mark, obviously. Beyond that, is if T.O. ends up becoming like Barrett becomes, is he the backup point guard? We've got like a couple other guards on the roster. We had like flashes last year where he was like kind of this like random almost like a cult classic, like fan favorite guy, where it was like kind of a bit, but it kind of wasn't, like we actually loved him, but it was like no one actually thought he was like an incredible player at that stage of his career. So can he kind of take some strides forward? That'd be good. It's just, it's a lot of question marks. Obviously we're all excited about we're excited about the freshman coming in next season, but this year, it's like, can the Javon Porters, is that we've seen guys kind of come home and have it not necessarily work out for the best. Even like Aiden Shaw can impact. And
Did you mean Mosley? Did you mean Mosley there, not Aiden Shaw?
Both. Mosley is who I was thinking of. Aiden Shaw had more flashes. CJ Mosley from Columbia, obviously. That was that's the one where he and I believe he was also the one that had the off the court stuff. So you're
hinted,
right.
Heavily hinted.
Yes, heavily hinted that. Some people on some online sleuths put that together. Thank you for correcting me on that. I feel very, very stupid.
I'd say Aiden was solid. Poor guy couldn't shoot.
Yeah. No, Aiden, I think I just don't think ended up being like a scheme fit.
Him and I would have had the same shooting percentage.
Whatever reason. Yeah, it was kind of tough to watch, and he never really got a chance to show off his like freakish athleticism, which was what made him obviously a standout.
If only he was like a thicker body.
Yeah,
he was just
would
too
have helped.
real
We didn't really have any we weren't really big on that kind of slasher get to the rim stuff. We generally attacked the paint for I know. Dude, okay.
It's literally like if he could shoot and dribble, this dude would have been sick.
And obviously he could to some extent, but I guess beyond that, the other person who everyone's gotten a lot of hype in, mostly because of the Dennis Gates quote from, I believe, last week, is Jacob Cruz, who, would Dennis say he wanted him to make 100 threes this year?
I mean, they want to make 800. What was the thing?
And Grill only made
threes.
Grill only made 80 something last season. So that's gonna be a pretty tough number to beat. And also Cruz has every one of those guys where every single time he put it up, I was screaming no, just because it didn't look right to my eye. And then it would go in so much more than I expected it to.
Yeah.
So,
800 attempts.
800.
Yeah. 800 makes.
If we make 800 threes, Julian, I think we're going to be in dang good shape.
We'll be in business.
Yeah. That 150 to 1 is cashing.
They shot, I think, high. It was 790. And I think Gates was saying probably similar. So
Yep.
you'd have to think that the the old motion offense, drive, dish.
All right.
You got
All right.
multiple guys that can score. So
I'm gonna take the ball top of the key here. All right. T.O. Barrett's gonna be a dog. I am so ready for this dude to take a leap. I don't think he's gonna do an Anthony Robinson leap, but I think the flashes he showed. If that becomes more consistent, Gates and back when he's at Florida State, the second year was huge. I think he solidifies himself as the backup guard. I think the dream is he's coming in after Ant, and the defense isn't letting up. He's much better at finding the open guy, and if he can just he doesn't need amazing shooting, average shooting, a respectable shooting. I think he's liable for a breakout year. Oh my God, I forgot to say Honor Bertang on the returners. Oh my God, my doc got messed up. I'm sorry about that. But Boat, we love you. Second, shout out to the Rock'em guys. I was listening to the breakdown of Jacob Cruz. They talked about what they viewed as his biggest issue was that he was trying to do the Caleb Girl roll, where that's not how he shoots.
Yeah. But I think
Caleb
is
is super good at coming off the screens.
Told him to do though at times.
Yeah.
But he would. That's why I said the no every time he shot thing is because he would come down and he would have a heat check like without making the first two. You know what I mean? He would come down and just rip it from 30 feet. You're like, brother.
I just think without Caleb Grill there, the offense isn't centered on what Caleb Grill's strengths can be. It can now be more centered on what Jacob Cruz's strengths are. And if he is standing still and shooting, that ball's going in. And if he can add some basic pump fake into offense, a dribble and a pass, a dribble and a pull up, great.
Dribble and
then second, I'm really fascinated when it comes to the Trent Pierce, Jacob Cruz Boat. That kind of spot, who's taking minutes there. Boat's the defensive guy. I think he has the most. He's definitely by far the most athletic. Trent, I think, adds the most variable. He is the one that pushes the ceiling of this team because
they're going to need
he's hitting two with his size, then it opens up a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for if I had to put a lock on who's breaking out this year, and so I can say I called it. It's T.O. I'm really excited for T.O. I think he's a dog.
I understand the hype. I'm just curious how the minutes and the lineups rotations are going to shake out with our guards this year. So I view much like you, kind of the Trent Pierce, Jacob Cruz kind of guys as not necessarily as they go Mizzou goes situation, but that if we're able to get consistent production from them and they take a step forward, that it'd be very, very beneficial. And like you said, we could have a more kind of consistent offense instead of.
Yeah. Mike, any last thoughts on the returners before I go into the newcomers?
No, I think you guys hit it. Excited to see Cruz offensively, defensively. We'll probably need a step up, but I think that's where a lot of our
transfers come in.
Transfers can just really add a second guy in line.
All right. So for those of you who haven't paid much attention to the newcomers, the recruits or the transfers, I'm going to give a quick little stat and where they're from for each one. And then at the end, we're going to pick the two that we're most excited about seeing. So first, recruits. We have Nicholas Randall. He is a tweener center. Depending on the recruiting service, mid 3-star to solid 4-star. He stands 6'9", 240 pounds. And all these measurements come from the roster the team released at the end of summer here. So these are the most up to date. And he was known as someone who, if Gates is looking for a tweener, he's looking for a big who can handle the ball. The dribble handoffs. The ability to pass is a big thing for the center or the tweener role in the system. So I feel like Nicholas Randall really fits that spot really well. Aaron Rowe, point guard, 6'2", 255 from Columbia. He was also a 4-star in most services. Feels like a very pure point guard. He is kind of tiny though, so we'll see. I bet we see him a lot in the early games. Not much down the line, except in those situations where every guard is in foul trouble. Transfers, we have Javon Porter.
Will happen in the SEC.
It will happen at some point in the SEC. Jerome Porter, he's coming in from Loyola Marymount, 6'11", 230, 1 year to play. Jane Stone, West Virginia, didn't play last year because of a really bad head injury. It was actually going to leave basketball. Gates and the staff brought him on. When he played at Detroit Mercy 2 years ago, he was scoring like crazy, but that Detroit Mercy team was bad. Sean Phillips Jr., Arizona State transfer, 7 foot, 245 pounds, 1 year to play. Luke Northweather, Oklahoma transfer 7. I have a 7'11". That's not correct at all. That was supposed to be 6'11", 235 pounds with 2 years to play. And then lastly,
from Jeff
Sebastian
City, originally
from Jeff
by the way.
City, true son. And then shout out to all Jeff Co listeners. Sebastian Mack, UCLA transfer 6'3", 195 pounds. Another Classic Gains transfer with 2 years to play. Guys, you hear those you hear those recruits, you hear those transfers. What are the, I'm saying 2, but if you're feeling frisky, do whatever you want. But what guys are you excited about here on these transfers?
Quick clarification: Jeff Co is not where Jefferson City is. That's Cole County. Just since you were trying to throw our Cole County listeners a bone, and then immediately kind of threw away all that goodwill. So I just wanted to jump in and clarify on that. The question was
it's me, the Columbia native.
How I feel exactly how I feel about the transfers. Was that the question?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot of unknowns. Like the Jaden Stone, worth noting his. I think it was a head injury that he had at West Virginia, because we announced that transfer a while ago, when it wasn't known at the time, but it became pretty clear pretty quickly that he was not going to be able to suit up for West Virginia. And it looked like his entire basketball career might be over. And Mizzou gave him a shot. Dennis Gates gave him a shot, said, "You've got a place here if you want to come." So, unknown in terms of Detroit Mercy and their competition. We don't know how someone without a significant injury would be coming in. And then on top of it, you add in the head injury. So very unknown there. There's a lot of guys who didn't necessarily, the competition's a little bit hard to judge, and especially based on the minutes that they played. But
Stone screams Marquise Warwick role.
If
come in when people aren't hitting, just shoot.
Yeah, if he can. Again, I have no idea what his like physical status is, if he's back anywhere close to what he was before this or not.
He's in there practicing.
But hey, I'll take that. And in theory, I think that's a perfect comparison to kind of be that same type of role. And this is what I was talking about with T.O. and then you mentioned Rowe as well, and then Sebastian Mack. We've got a lot of guards. I think it's gonna be interesting to see early in the season, especially how we kind of suss out who should be playing, with which other guys, how effective they're gonna be. Maybe one of them ends up just not gelling at all and ends up getting no minutes. But there's reason to think that we've got a solid amount of depth here, more so than I felt in a few of the years past.
Got to suss out who has the sauce. Mike, what do you think?
Suss out who has the sauce.
I'm very interested to watch Jaden Stone play.
I was not expecting both of you to say Stone.
Yeah, well, I think I will kind of touch on what Curtis kind of touched on what we talked about with, quantifying what, a transfer's value is. He averaged almost 21 points at Detroit Mercy. Mm-hmm. I think at any legitimate D1 level, that's impressive. So I think he will be an offensive-driven player, much like Marquise, who was an offensive, true addition, and then defense
could not defend.
So, at the end of the day, if you score more points than the other team, you win. So,
True.
If Mizzou is probably not the team you want to go point for point with, which is to kind of hop back, that's probably, to put me in Drake's shoes, slow it down, make them get into an offense, and really control the tempo. But if Mizzou's controlling the tempo, we clearly have guys that can score. And we probably added going through two bona fide, almost 7-footers.
That's just where I was going to go with it.
Yeah, I think
huge.
Yeah, adding the size is probably, something.
Yeah, I was going to ask what our thoughts are on what the kind of big man rotation is going to look like.
I think you start Sean Phillips, because everything what they're saying. Here's the thing. Everyone's going to kind of blow smoke up each other's asses at the end of the season. Like, they're interviewing all the players. Everyone's going to say everyone's doing great. No one's going to come out in an interview and say this player's bad. I hope we don't play them.
Yeah.
They're all saying they're all doing good, but they are all heavily emphasizing Sean Phillips Jr. From the coaching staff to the players. They're like, this dude is a dog, and he is. If I have to have two dog alerts, it's T.O. and it's Sean Phillips Jr. I think I loved Josh Gray last year. Woof. I loved, but Gray was limited severely where he was limited. He could not. He wasn't the most mobile. He wasn't dunking like crazy. I think there was something like. Do you guys remember at any point that he was putting down lobs? Gray, like that wasn't what he was doing. He was great defensively, cleaned up with rebounds. I think Sean Phillips Jr. is the guy who is putting down 2 to 3 lobs a game.
Yeah, it's a much different style.
Yeah, he is so athletic. He is crazy long. He can jump out the gym, and they're all talking about how he's just like, if you drive into him, you're not getting the ball up. So like, I like if this is the season for Gates to lose, his teams don't play defense. It's this one, because then Javon Porter is also known as a good defender. Now the offense, they say Javon's going to shoot a lot of threes. Can he hit them consistently? I don't know. I think Sebastian Mack is also an amazing defender. Can he shoot? It's like so much of this is like good defender, really athletic. Can he shoot? Is the thing that keeps coming up. I think the starting lineup it should be Ant, Sebastian Mack, Mark Mitchell, Sean Phillips Jr. That last spot's key. I think you're kind of going between Trent Pierce or Jacob Cruz. I think that's what these early games are to figure out.
Yeah.
Who should be in that final spot.
And it's also super matchup dependent. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of things could change, but just in terms of like, hey, like blanket, like blank opponent. I think that's probably the
and as we know, like you might start, but there could be a guy who actually plays more minutes and he's the seventh guy off, like he's the second guy off the bench, but he always plays. You know, like that's just how Gates does it. Yeah. It's whoever has the hot hand sometimes is what he's rolling with. All right, let's head into unless any final thoughts on the. Okay, here we go. The schedule. Oh, Mike, sorry.
Yeah,
Mike?
sorry.
No, go.
Throw the hat in the
Take your space.
I think with Mac, if you look at any like early predictive like performance ratings, particularly like the Bayesian performance rating, Mac is probably one of the more well-rounded, or at least like predictive wise, well-rounded in the offense and defensive sense.
The mysterious Bayesians. What is the Bayesian metric, Mike?
So the technical, it
sounds very mysterious.
Yeah,
very old empire.
Yeah, it's essentially the player's individual efficiency, like on court play-by-play impact, like relative to a average D1 player, and for any NBA scouts and high level college guys, that's probably...
You should see my Bayesian score for Iraq or Rips. My solo efficiency is crazy, off the charts.
Yeah, so he it's kind of like me with Nilla wafers. So
again, sponsors.
Yeah,
listening.
Yeah, he's going to be our probably more well-rounded. Mm-hmm. Porter is going to trend more of a defensive impact. Stone is going to trend more of an offensive impact. Phillips is going to be your defensive guy.
Anchor, yeah.
And Luke Northweather is probably pretty neutral.
I don't think he's playing.
He had a very... I think last year had just under 600 times, he was touching the ball. So that's not a ton.
Again, kind of just big body for games where we need it.
He can shoot.
And we've got
shoot
some injuries. Three. Yeah.
So I think he's serviceable, yes. But I think at the end of the day, just going with the Gates of solidifying that size, and I think shoring up defense in some capacity of just not,
especially in conference play. Yeah.
You truly never know. Yeah. I was rewatching some of the stuff from last year. I forgot that in that Florida game that Tony Perkins had been thrown out of the game. That's why Tia was playing. It was foul trouble.
Man, that was
Tony Perkins thrown out of the game. Tia comes in.
Bad call too.
They passed the rule. because of that. That's like the second time something's happened to a Mizzou sports player and they changed the rules. Punting
The Kentucky
the punting thing in football,
Yeah.
and then this.
Sorry, listeners. Bringing up just happy memories.
All right. So schedule. Let's take a look at the schedule. We're gonna split into two parts: non-con and then SEC play. So first on the non-con, we have the exhibition game this Friday against Kansas State. Then we have away at Howard. Nice. I saw a picture of Howard's basketball court, and they have the volleyball lines on.
Yeah, it's awesome though.
Just in case.
It's kind of a sick arena.
Southeast Missouri, but at home we have then Southeast Missouri, VMI, Minnesota, which is always kind of an interesting game. Prairie View A&M, South Dakota, South Carolina State, Cleveland State. Shout out to Gates' former team, throwing them a solid here, and then away at Notre Dame for the ACC SEC Classic. Then neutral site Kansas and Kansas City. Then home Alabama State, home Bethune-Cookman, who Mike has a lot of thoughts on, neutral Illinois, and that is our non-con. Guys, when you hear that non-con schedule, what do you think? What's the initial thoughts? What are you hoping to see out of that non-con?
I love the build up, the amount of I think good to very good talent, in terms of like Kansas and Illinois specifically, talent that we're going to face. But I love kind of the flow of it where we start off at Howard. So you start off in a small, could be, kind of raucous
like
old gym. Yeah. And then you get your SEMO, you get your Virginia Military Academy, and then Minnesota, should be a good test against if not like a cohesive team that we saw last year. The players on Minnesota, for the most part, we have data on. We know how good they overall should be.
Year.
Yeah, we should have a decent understanding of how we played in that game afterwards. You know what I mean? Whether we win or lose, and then you get. If let's say we struggle in that, you get a couple get me right games. You get a couple of easier matchups. No offense to South Carolina State or Cleveland State, and then
their fans gonna be all over
at Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, going to be another tough one, and that leads you right into Kansas neutral site, which obviously is. I mean, who cares about this? You could win or lose that game, and it might not mean anything about your season because that's just an old throw the record books out the window and these two guys get together.
Classic.
Yeah. So yeah, I think and then obviously finishing with bragging rights in St. Louis. Hopefully, I can make it through that day without ending up in the hospital again. But that's a story for another day. So I think we play some teams I think are going to be pretty good, like pretty dang good. And we play a couple teams that should be, okay to good that are in power conferences. One of them on the road, one of them neutral site. And so, yeah, I think it's kind of an ideal non-conference schedule to test you enough, but also give you plenty of chances where like if you do struggle at times, you've got some games in the middle to kind of get yourself right and figure things out.
Such a fascinating end to the non-con.
Yeah,
and I don't even know how much it actually defines how good the team is. It's more of just like, I don't know.
Playing
just games that
Kansas
are often being weird in a way. Yeah,
Kansas and Illinois. I mean, two neutral site games. Massive rivalry games. That Illinois specifically just kind of like always feels extremely wonky. In that building. Yeah,
I'm tired of losing
really,
Illinois.
Really do. But yeah, it's an interesting stretch to non-con, but I don't think that like you said, I don't think that's going to end up defining them. I think it's just use the 10 games prior or whatever to kind of get your footing right, make sure that things are on the right track at least, because you've got plenty of what I'm comfortable calling like cupcake games, and we can lose to anybody, obviously. But we also hope we can beat anybody. So just kind of hope that we're seeing the positive signs that we're hoping for.
Stack thoughts?
Kind of just one interesting takeaway from the schedule side, like what you guys mentioned, is we got 3 games against teams that are in the SWAC. That's the
swag.
That's like your perennial. Basically, you're just writing a check to a nonprofit to keep that school's athletic program afloat.
Hey,
they've been unfortunately, just the doormat of. That's some of the worst basketball teams.
What's the Southwest Athletic Conference? Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
SWAC.
But I don't know. That just stood out to me with what Bethune-Cookman, Bama State.
But you think Bethune-Cookman's legit?
I think they're going to win the SWAC. So if anyone out there can find a book that's holding who's going to win the SWAC, please reach out.
As Alcorn State, are they SWAC too? I think so.
Not even a state, dude.
It's true.
Yeah, Alcorn. Yeah.
Not even a state.
They hold I think the worst.
Cleveland, not a state. South Carolina, not a state. What are these schools trying to do?
South Carolina, we'll give that to you. I mean, barely a state. Barely.
Mike, aren't you a non-con truther about how easy the non-con Gates does?
I would say more just intriguing. I don't think. I think this year, and I think as Mizzou elevates their sports, and I'll include football in this. I don't know. Maybe some people out there be intrigued to kind of see a tougher non-con schedule, just to kind of find where we can hold our water. Not looking for a gauntlet of going, to the Bahamas or Hawaii with your blue bloods, but
yeah, we've seen that get ugly for teams that were kind of in a similar spot to us that were up and coming, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, it gets you good publicity when those big tournaments, those little micro tournaments, whatever you want to call them. They're always fun to watch. I think any fan can kind of get into it if you're a fan of college ball. But yeah, just kind of interesting. I don't know. If
we lost by like 40 points to Florida State in a tournament played at University of North Florida here in Jacksonville a few years ago.
What year was that?
3 years ago, I believe. There was a 14 tournament. Florida State got upset in the first round, so they ended up in the winners bracket. Or I'm sorry, in the
I didn't think Gates has done any
losers bracket.
tournaments.
It was
Was his first year?
Must have been.
Or Konzo's last?
Also, that was Konzo's last year.
I called it.
Yeah,
See, I told
you're
you.
right.
But
It was the last year of Konzo, so I know this doesn't apply to Gates, but it just in terms of again mid-level teams and doing these early season kind of mini tournaments where we went to a tiny little tournament and we're not expecting to play Florida State in the second game, but there was a massive upset the night before and we lost 81-58 in one of the just worst games I've ever seen, and it that season ended up ultimately being the end of Konzo Martin.
But that season would have been the end of Konzo even if he did in that tournament. That's like, I get both sides.
Yeah.
I get the Gates argument, which is you want these early season games to ultimate tinker. I also think there's a lot of value in challenging your team. And I wouldn't mind having a worse non-con schedule, like having a worse record coming out of it if it meant the team actually had more, especially because how hard SEC is.
Yeah.
It's like,
but you also don't want to demoralize a team as you're trying to figure it out, So there are totally both sides of it that are valid. It's not one or the other.
how weak's the mental though? If you lose a couple games in non-con, and also I think it is fixed by the fact that you have Kansas and Illinois at the end of the non-con. But that Kansas game isn't lasting past next year, and I don't know. We'll see.
it could open the door to other games.
I
like
remember
to see
last
some
year
Big 12 games. Your tech, like maybe a Texas or splashing an ACC. I don't know how the
Mizzou's got plenty
Alabama
of
was
other
going
old rivals
everywhere,
we can go back
and
to.
I feel like those schools benefit from it. Doing that hard ass non-con.
Yeah, but
they
did that. They've been on the path to being an elite program, not just a flash in the pan. For a while.
I would have loved this. I think looking at this team, the more I looked at the transfers and who we brought back, this is the team I would have wanted to have a harder non-con.
Yeah, but you see, you got to set them so far in advance. You just never know. So it's,
I know,
again,
but
if we had ended up with kind of a weak team that we really wanted to kind of build up, and they get smoked by whoever.
Yeah, you lose out on transfers. You lose out on, you got a, 16, 17-year-old, 4 or 5 star recruit watches, team he wants to go play for get shellacked. But at the end of the day, though, I do like just from a ball standpoint, moving. Minnesota, I think, will be a good game. This is what our third year playing them. So I think that those have always been good games. And then you go through
the Minnesota Missouri rivalry is slowly growing.
the Gophers and Tigers.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk?
The battle of like Midwest nice, because like Wisconsin and Minnesota, like they're the same people, whatever. But I think like the
First, we're in
Minnesota
the
and
South
Missouri people are.
Eastern Conference.
But then I think that stretch of
We're
your Notre Dame will be a really good game, and
Should
then
be.
we obviously touched on KU. Then we have two doormat SWAC teams, and then literally from a couple days before Christmas to
Yeah, that just
middle
takes us into the
middle of
real
March.
schedule.
It's all
Pedal to the metal.
and I think there's some stretches of games like that. Kind of looking ahead for those that don't have a schedule.
Yeah, do we want to get into
Let me
conference play, or
give
give final thoughts on
let me
that?
that here. So we finish Illinois, and then immediately go into home Florida, away Kentucky, away Ole Miss, home Auburn. That's a stretch for sure. And then after that, we have
4 of those teams ranked in the top 20, and 2 of them in the top 10 right now.
I mean, the easiest team in that is Ole Miss. Probably.
Auburn's ranked 20th right now.
Didn't they beat? I don't
think Auburn's going to be that great.
I think Ole Miss beat.
Well, Auburn's got a. That's a weird situation.
Weird situation. Anyway, we have plenty of time to break down the teams later on down the line, but
Ridiculous
then we
stretch,
have
regardless.
so home Auburn, that leads to away LSU, home Georgia, home Oklahoma. That's probably our easiest stretch: LSU, Georgia, Oklahoma. Then we have away Alabama, home Mississippi State, away South Carolina, away Texas A&M. Always a brutal game.
Mm-hmm.
I hate playing at Texas A&M. Home Texas, home Vanderbilt, and that is the SEC schedule. No, wait, there's more.
Yeah.
Oh, my document.
Yeah,
messed up.
we still have 2 Arkansas games. That you
Well,
didn't get to.
excuse me. Okay, let me hit this again.
There's
home
3
Texas.
more ranked games.
Home Vanderbilt, away Arkansas, and then the ending stretch of home Tennessee, away Mississippi State, away Oklahoma, home Arkansas. That's right, you play Arkansas twice in a week.
It's in 2 2 weeks.
Which
it's 2
Arkansas
weeks.
is probably going to be a good team this year. So the beginning of this SEC schedule and the end of the SEC schedule is
Both
brutal.
brutal.
And then there's really no spot in the middle. I'm like, oh, that's like maybe 3, but like,
I think it's.
I mean, 10 and 8 would be great again.
10 and 8 would be phenomenal. I think 9 and 9 I would absolutely take that. Given the way this schedule looks right now, I think you're going to have to take care of business with the when you do get a stretch of back-to-back home games against teams that at least right now aren't ranked, assuming that they're not ranked at the time as well. You got to take care of business then, and then when you get a couple of back-to-back road games against, again, who we think might be a slightly lesser opponent, at least take 1 of 2, if not just completely take care of business.
Yep.
But you're gonna have to perform in those spots where you do get kind of back-to-back games against in 1 week.
We are going to break down the schedule closer in the weeks coming, as well as actually give our predictions. But Mike, any thoughts on the SEC schedule before we head off to K-State preview?
Yeah, just the one note, I think, was it Ole Miss beat Houston yesterday, the 19th, in a not-so-secret scrimmage.
Ooh.
I don't know. We're not calling it upset.
But aren't those scrimmages like they actually just do situations? They're not like playing.
Who knows?
Fine.
I think there's all levels are, I'm sure, different coming from if anyone out there coaches and you've done, a red and white or anything like that type of scrimmage with someone, like, are you setting, things up situationally, like, hey, the first 5-10 minutes of the half, I'm going to be running, a 3-2, or I'm going to do a diamond press. Like, you guys try this, you guys try that. I don't think they're doing it at this level. I don't think, to maybe do a little segue into K-State, I don't think the programs are obviously talking with each other about, Gates is saying, hey, I'm going to be running a 1-2, 1-1,
They're playing some
press.
type of like legitimate attempt at
Yeah,
basketball.
I think for
versus
all
practice.
purposes, it's hard to preview these scrimmages, especially K-State, who is heavy on the transfer side.
Let me for those who don't know K-State, let me give a couple pieces of info that'll clear things up. So, as I said, it's gonna be Friday, 9 p.m. late tip for those of you who are early to bed. It's gonna be on the SEC Network. last year K-State went 16-17, 9-11 the Big 12, which was considered never forget, which was considered a disappointing season for Jerome Tang, which is his third. Was his third year. They're replacing their entire team. There is none of the starters from last year are back. Everyone is new. So I think what's going to be interesting is that there's probably going to be some weird moments for them in that game because they have no returning core. And what we do know of the team seems to be they are bringing in some mystery players, such as a couple Memphis players who played against last season. I think what you guys should expect in the future is we're going to have some much more deeper breakdowns, especially thanks to Mike, our stats guy. But Mike, any thoughts on K-State from the little bit we know from their transfer squad and things like that?
I think they're going to be I would say, a pretty good team overall. I think the Big 12 is going to be another tough conference. Obviously, ranging from Houston, Arizona,
Kansas.
Shout out to the Mormons playing some
Dude,
basketball.
the Mormons are dropping money on basketball. Big dollars on basketball.
I guess, yeah.
They want to spend money on soda,
Yeah.
big houses, and basketball. That's
I'm sending them, some cases of, caffeine-free Dr. Pepper, because I keep every time I turn on ESPN2, they're playing one of the old SEC teams that are rather Big 12 teams, the Kansas or K-State, whomever. So I've been enjoying it.
But yeah, I think it'll be. I think both teams are gonna take it seriously. I think they're gonna try. I wouldn't take. I mean, we're gonna react to it. We're gonna take some things from it, but also, I wouldn't be surprised if Gates is giving every guy some minutes outside of Trent Burns, who they're still walking back from a foot injury. God bless. I hope Trent Burns gets some real minutes this year. But yeah, I think that's our first one, boys. Everyone who is listening to this first one, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope to see you back on future Circle Up podcasts, and looking forward to the Tiger season. Curtis, Mike, any last thoughts?
No. Thanks, in the words of Eli Drinkwitz, thanks for the question, M-I-Z.
M-I-Z.
M-I-Z.